How are y'all doing? Daniel Dash here. We're going to talk about training like an athlete is your key to flat abs. Have you ever noticed athletes like Ben Johnson, and here we got an Olympic lifter known in various Bulgarian circles, they look like, just like the average person, dreams of looking at, a lot of them are completely natural and they have their physiques as a result of doing certain things in their training for their sport. They don't purposely go out there and try to look like this, like a bodybuilder, for example. They're experts at their trade of looking a certain way, but this is not the case with athletes. And athletes, for the most part, have physiques that most people are jealous of. If you look at Ben Johnson here, look at his physique. A lot of people are jealous of him because he looks great. He looks like he's carved out of stone. And the reason because of this, they follow certain principles in their routines that are very simple that we can adapt in our own lives so we can put our training so we can look like this. Now, they could look like this with 1/3 of the training that they do, but since they're elite in their level, they have to get to a certain, result with their training so they can perform in their sport. So like him, for example, he has to be able to power clean over 300 pounds and press it. Ben Johnson has to be able to run 100 meter, as fast as he can and beat out everybody. So their body is a result of training for that. Now, if you've ever paid close attention to these athletes, their bodies seem like they're carved out of stone. They're lean, they got their abs popping out, they've got muscle. How is this? Well, it looks like they don't do any work to get their abs, but in reality, it's because we're on the outside looking in. We don't see the daily work they have to go through, the struggle, the food, the lifting. Some Olympic lifters lift 5 to 6 times a day. Ben Johnson, I know, has an outrageous workout routine, and all these different guys. I know Michael Phelps, for example, who's got a really skinny, lean physique that a lot of people admire. I don't know why you would, but, it is what it is. He swims, up to 6 hours a day straight. That's a lot of metabolic costs in their swimming. In reality, there is a lot of work going on, but it's simple work that you and I can do in our lives to get the body that they have. It's not complicated, a lot of things to do. In fact, it's so basic that a lot of us try to complicate our workouts thinking that that's what's going to get us our ideal body, and it's just not true. What's true is doing things that are simple over and over again over time is what's going to get you the best results. The key in doing all this is injecting the principles that they got, the main principles that drive their training and regimens, and put it into your own life. That is the key. Now, before we dive ourselves into the routines that they got and finding out, let's ask ourselves a couple key things on exactly what they got going on. First, find out what athlete do you want to most look like. We got different ones. Find out which one is the one that most grabs your interest and, you would really enjoy looking like. What are some of their daily routines? If you Google long enough and search long enough, you can piece together the routines and what they do. Next, after you do that, find out how you can fit some of those key routines into your own life, the key principles that are involved with their routine. Just dev it into your life and your lifestyle and your habits. Now, the answer to every of these questions is very simple. Don't overcomplicate them. Like I said before, most people who are getting into working out and wanting to look a certain way will overcomplicate things, and I'm telling you, this is not the key. The key is to simplify things. First question let's dive into. What athlete do you want to most look like? Here are some ones that I hear often with my clients. Sprinters are a big one. Football players, rugby stars, Olympic lifters, gymnasts, and of course, I hear bodybuilders sometimes. I try not to include bodybuilders because they do train to be a bodybuilder, okay? And a lot of people really don't want to look like a bodybuilder. I found most people want to be lean, lean, and they want to look good with clothes on, but they don't want to look overly bulky, so they have to buy a new wardrobe. Sprinters are actually the most popular that I hear a lot of, and gymnasts, of course. Once you've picked one, you can move on to the next question. Actually, before I move on, I want to tell you my favorite was always a sprinter. A lot of my workouts and routines go after sprinters and rugby because I play some rugby in my life. So obviously I put together like that. And I take some principles from Olympic lifters as well because of the way they're able to put on mass very easily. So I take a little bit of each in my life, just to give you an example. Second question, what is their daily routine like once you've picked one? Let's use a good example that I'm very familiar with, and that's sprinters. Everybody would agree with me that sprinters have a great physique, so if you want to choose this one, great. Who doesn't want to look like a Ben Johnson? Who doesn't want to look like those guys? And those guys have some solid principles in their training. They practice their trade often, but only do 100% intensity every 7 to 10 days at most. Running at high speeds too often puts too much strain on your central nervous system. When you're doing all-out intensity, what it does, it lifts your central nervous system. Your central nervous system is responsible, and a lot of people will disagree on me on this, but the guys that really know what they're talking about will agree that the central nervous system is the key to building mass if you're natural. You know, it's not doing high reps or nothing like that. If you can get your central nervous system firing, especially with high intensity, you can build a lot of mass and burn a lot of muscle. But they only do it every 7 to 10 days at most. Usually they'll run about 80, 90% tops. At tops, you know, that's a little high. 85% is usually what they do. But only every 7 to 10 days they test themselves to 100% intensity because it can really damage your CNS. One of my pet peeves really here is most coaches put their 100-meter spinners to run 400 and 800 meters. This is bad and stupid. This shows for you, for your example, that there is a certain benefit to keeping your eye on one thing. You know, if you're going to get fast at the 100-meter, that means you're going to build explosiveness. You're going to improve how your central nervous system fires, and your body's going to get used to that, to work with that. Don't swoop back and forth, 100-meter, 400-meter, 800-meter. You know, stick to one, get really good at it, get fast. And the only reason it's bad for coaches to do it is because it's freaking retarded to have a 100-meter runner do a 400-meter. It's completely different workout systems. You know, it's completely different energy systems as well, and I think it just completely screws them up. You know, I'm not an elite Olympic coach or whatever, but that's just my opinion of the stuff I've read. So focus on one area of your sprinting. I would start with the 100-meter. The other thing that they do that's interesting is they work on small parts of the 100 meters. Say, for example, the first 10 meters of the 100 meter is the most important. This is where they get the initial oomph. You know, if someone can get that initial oomph right up from the start, they usually win the race. So the first explosive movement is the most important for them. So it shows you that, you know, this also helps with fat loss because being explosive is all going to recommend on your CNS, and your CNS builds muscle, and on and on and on so far. So working on the first 10 meters is very important, you know, for people like you and me as well. Their explosiveness is what gives them their carved out body. We talked about that. So we have to put that in our own workout lives to create explosiveness in the things we do so we can, you know, hit our CNS, and it's going to also boost our testosterone. It's also going to in turn build muscle. Who doesn't need testosterone boosting? You know, I hear a lot of people over in their 30s, guys who are older in their 30s, losing testosterone. There's no better way to increase your testosterone than doing high intensity sprints. You'll hit your CNS, you'll boost testosterone, and you're going to build muscle. So, you know, no more whining if you're the type of person who is low on testosterone. There's ways to do it if you get up off your butt. The other thing they do is they strength train often with compound lifts, low reps, and a small part of their time is devoted to higher reps. You know, a lot of what they do is focused on compound lifts, and they work out heavy. They're not worried about getting bulky. They're not bulky. And a small part of their time is on higher reps. If you even look at female lifters, if you're a female watching this, it's the exact same thing. You know, don't worry about getting bulky. There's chances are, you know, unless you have a long-term routine that's devoted to getting bulky, you're not going to get there. It's actually very hard to get really big and bulky. It takes a lot of food, and it takes a lot of advanced techniques to get there. So don't worry about that. Train heavy, low reps, and devote a little bit of your time to higher reps. Also, perform lifting under time circumstances relating to your racing goals. Sprinters, a lot of time, let's say if they need to meet, you know, a certain speed of 10 seconds, you know, then someone will put them in on like squats, and they'll squat for 10 seconds doing as much as they can with a medium to high heavy weight. So you put on, you know, 245 pounds on the squat as fast as you can for 10 seconds. It builds explosiveness. You know, Olympic lifts are another thing that builds explosiveness. So it's a different type, like pull-ups. You can do as many pull-ups as you can in 10 seconds. Do them as fast as you can. It'll build explosiveness. And this is a great thing to do because it's a different way to work out, and I recommend you do the same. So now that you know these principles, how do you adapt them in your own life? Well, first, find yourself a track to run on. Don't do cement or grass fields. I've done both. You know, cement, I personally feel is too stressful on your joints, In grass fields, I've had it where people have stepped in potholes or, little holes that, literally break your ankles. Next, after that, schedule 2 to 3 times per week to train your sprinting. Go out to the track, go out to the turf field, the football field, and do your sprinting. Do it 2 to 3 times per week and train in this manner. Train the first 10 meters of the race. Then train the first 100 meters. Hit yourself 100 meters, take a little bit of a break, do another one. And train your sprinting little by little. After that, give yourself adequate rest so your CNS doesn't keep you from losing fat and gaining muscle. If your CNS is overworked, your body will actually hold on to muscle, and it will lose fat because it feels that it's being attacked, and the way your body prevents that for itself is by holding on to fat. So make sure you get adequate rest when you're working out like this. Next, when you're in the gym, focus 90% of your time on lifting very heavy weights and 10% of your time on higher reps. And try your hand at timed lifting. We talked about taking 10 seconds and doing as many squats as possible or doing as many pull-ups as possible. Do that. And then 90% of your time focus on, heavy compound lifting like squats, deadlifts, bench pressing, snatch grip deadlifts, Olympic press and clean and lift, all those different lifts that allow you to move maximum heaves of muscle, dips and pull-ups for the upper body as well. Don't worry about an ideal time to train. I tell this to all my clients. They're always worried about, well, I got to do it in the morning. It's the best time. Well, I got to do it after my workout. There are ideal times to do something, but guess what? Nothing is ever going to be perfect. If you have a job, kids, family, responsibilities, you just got to fit it in whenever you can, and you'll get the benefit eventually. You'll eventually get used to it, and you'll eventually be able to move forward. So don't worry about an ideal time. So putting it all together, well, losing your belly fat and looking like a carved out of stone is not difficult if you follow solid principles like these in your training. And of course, you have to follow proper nutrition. You're not going to be able to out-train a crappy diet. You eat McDonald's all the time, you're going to feel like crap while you're working out. You're going to look like crap, and that's just the truth. So follow proper nutrition. This isn't the video. I'm going to talk about nutrition. That's not the point here. You hear me all the time talk about nutrition, but right now it's solidly on training. The secret to fit in all this is to fit it into your lifestyle. Then you will get to where it's effortless and easy. Fit it into your lifestyle, do it at the time of day that you can, and eventually, after probably a few weeks, maybe even more, we don't know the exact time, but eventually it will get to the point where it's fun, it's easy, and it's literally effortless. And you're going to have a body that you can only dream about. But you know what? We don't know our time. It could be 2 months it takes you of pushing yourself and making yourself do it, but eventually it will become effortless and easy, and you'll have the body that you want, but you got to be willing to stick to that point. So anyways, this is Daniel Dash. If you haven't yet, get my 8 myths to losing your belly fat, the things that keep people from losing belly fat. Go on my website, theLoseBellyFatSolution.com. If you're already on my website, go ahead and enter in your name and email where you can get my free report and we'll see you on the next training video. I hope you enjoy this. I really do hope that you put this into your life and that you do get the body you want, because we all want flat abs. Anyways, Daniel, we'll talk to you later.